I could start making this video in any way, but I want to start with the statements of Lewis Hamilton, and we will hear them together shortly, which describe how serious the Ferrari situation is. Then we'll take a brief technical look and see why Ferrari, after completely overturning the setup, sorry for Hamilton's sprint race, starting from the pit lane, wasn't able to find the right setup. And then we'll also look at Leclerc's situation and the snap that cost him where he completely lost the car, spun, and then it cost him the qualification, finishing 10th. Hamilton, I obviously remember 18. Now let's listen to Hamilton's words because they are very interesting and allow us to start this analysis, a very deep analysis of Ferrari's real problem. So let's hear Hamilton before we start. Please leave a supportive like if you enjoy analysis videos and subscribe. And activate notifications so you don't miss any videos on the channel. Also tell me in the comments how you see this dramatic situation, because that's the right word, a dramatic situation for Ferrari. And we'll look at all the technical aspects. First, let's listen to Hamilton together. Charles also said his car was worse today than it was yesterday, but from your point of view specifically, what would you like from the car now that you can tell the team about? And if it's a list of things, can you prioritize it for us so we can understand what you're dealing with? I'll be here all day. You don't have to give us the whole list, but what's at the top for you and what? What could happen soon? Well, I mean, we started from the pit lane because we wanted to explore and make some changes. They had some things they found on the simulator last night, so we implemented those changes, and yeah, the car was really in the wrong direction and very, very difficult for whatever reason. Clearly for both of us. We must give credit to Hamilton, who responds politely to journalists and doesn't burst into anger and frustration. That said, what did Hamilton say? He said, well, we started from the pit lane because we completely changed the setup, and therefore they broke the Parc Fermé rules by changing the setup following a direction they thought they found in the simulator at Maranello yesterday. And then through the remote garage, they tried to modify the car's setup starting from the pit lane. The problem is that the modified setup in today's race was wrong. Later, we will see why the setup didn't work well for Hamilton, and therefore he ended up having a difficult race in the sprint race. So the setup was totally wrong. Even in qualifying, Hamilton didn't feel good. And I want to continue with Hamilton's interview. Let's hear his words again, where he explains Ferrari's problems from his point of view. So when I say that the rear end is not planted, it's sliding, snapping a lot, then we have bouncing. So when you're going into corners like turn 10, the car starts bouncing. We have a lot of mid-corner understeer. And then you apply the steering and it snaps and you try to catch it. So it's different between low, medium and high speeds, and it's a fight like you can't believe. Thank you. And here Hamilton gives a perfect description of Ferrari's problems from a technical standpoint. So you see that Hamilton starts with frustration, saying they looked for the solution but didn't find it at Maranello, and also echoing Leclerc's words, saying that Leclerc also wasn't comfortable with the car. Definitely better than Hamilton, but neither of them was comfortable with the car. And then he said from a technical standpoint, the car is bouncing, so it hops and doesn't perform well, finding instability in general. There's instability at the rear, so there's a lot of rear end loss in high speed corners. In low speed corners, there's understeer, so there's understeering in low speed corners. In medium speed corners, there's also a lot of understeer. In high speed corners, there's oversteer, so you lose the rear end. In short, in every type of corner, the Ferrari responds differently, so in an unpredictable and unstable way, if you will. So there's never a setup that works well for Ferrari, because with so many different corners in Qatar, both in the first sector, which is a bit slower, then moving to the second sector, which is moderately faster, and the third sector even faster in terms of corner types, it's hard to find a setup that works in all the corners, because you'll always have a car that performs better in either the first, second, or third sector, and essentially not well in any of them. So for now, let's look at Leclerc's start, because the start of the sprint race is dramatic. Then we'll also talk about the qualifications. There's so much to say, but let's go step by step. This is Leclerc's start, guys. The car wouldn't turn, it wanted to go into the wall, it was unstable. The rear end wasn't felt and he said it himself. The worst car to drive from Ferrari in recent years. We are witnessing a truly dramatic scene, as I said before, a pitiless, embarrassing scene. Use your own adjectives, but it's truly an obscene situation. Let's move on. Here we see the start of Leclerc. In the sprint race, Leclerc starts poorly. Let's move on. Certainly Leclerc doesn't start well, but you can already see that the car doesn't turn, guys. Here we are at low speed because we're at the first corner and we arrive right after the start. So we come in at a lower speed than usual and already the car doesn't turn. And you can see there's already a Racing Bulls passing on the outside. Let's move on. A Racing Bulls that manages to find more grip out of the corner compared to a Ferrari. Let me explain to you. Racing Bulls, Red Bull's satellite team. So we're talking about an incomparable team. The Ferrari is here. Leclerc goes a bit on the curb, completely loses the rear, can't find grip, goes wide, undrivable, an undrivable car. This is what Leclerc also described. It's embarrassing to see a scene like this, guys, honestly, because seeing a Ferrari that doesn't drive, that can't be driven, this is the first lap and it's clear that it's really difficult. Look here too, he tries an attack on a Sauber, Leclerc. Look here, snap brakes from the inside, boom, immediately loses grip with the wheels. It's scandalous to see a Ferrari that can't be driven by its drivers. Really a disgrace from my point of view as a supporter, as a fan. Look here too, loss of the rear, truly undrivable. And I will also show the moment of Leclerc's snap. So we connect to that, then we'll do the analysis of Hamilton's lap. And we need to hear Hamilton afterwards. Actually, let's hear Hamilton after the sprint race first. And then we'll also see the snap that Leclerc had in qualifying. Let's hear Hamilton. It's Riccardo Adami trying to be positive in a disastrous situation.
Don't know how we made the car worse.
I don't know how we made the car worse than before. I mean, how is it possible that the car reacts worse than before? This comparing Friday's free practice 1, the sprint qualifying and the sprint race. This after the sprint race.
That was my pace at the end compared to obviously they were pulling away again.
Cars was on a 25.9.
He asked for some feedback on the laps compared to the others as well. And that's it. This is Hamilton's team radio after this race. Guys, an embarrassing race also from Hamilton. Let's go see while we're at it. The telemetry to make a Hamilton-Leclerc comparison. Look here at the pace. With medium tires, although it shows Hamilton with hard tires, they were both on medium tires. We know that during the sprint race there was, let's say, a tire bug, but everyone used the medium tire and the difference in pace speaks for itself. Leclerc is the red line, Hamilton is the white line, and Hamilton really didn't find any rhythm. If Leclerc has an undrivable car, we saw it before from the onboard, imagine how Hamilton was driving. And if we make a comparison, I took lap 16 of both, a 26.5 for Hamilton and a 25.8 for Leclerc, which are both very high times. But look at Hamilton in the last sector, especially in these fast corners, how much slower he was compared to Leclerc. In one corner here, there was even a 17 kilometers per hour difference, 17 with the same car. Look here too, he couldn't push, guys. Hamilton really didn't have it. And imagine that Charles was driving right at the limit and Hamilton was even more stuck compared to Charles. And look here at the difference. This is the race pace difference between Norris, Verstappen and Leclerc. Norris and Verstappen were lapping on average 1 second and 1.52 seconds faster compared to... 1.5 seconds faster compared to Leclerc. And a really slow pace from Charles compared to the other two. Look at the difference. In the fast corners, they were up to 15 kilometers per hour faster, favoring McLaren and Red Bull compared to an undrivable Ferrari. It was slow in slow corners, medium corners, and fast corners. In fast corners, it even lost a lot due to instability and the noted oversteer, so the oversteer that the Ferrari had. In slow corners too, look how much it lost, 13 kilometers per hour. I mean, we're talking about having an embarrassing Ferrari. The only point where it was a bit faster was in top speed, but it really made little difference. It's an extremely slow Ferrari everywhere. I mean, I'm truly speechless to see a Ferrari like this. It was to be expected, not this bad though. But surely Qatar, now I'll show you the layout, is one of the worst tracks for Ferrari, considering the characteristics of the car. Before we go into the layout, I'll also show you these statements from the drivers. I don't know how we made the car worse compared to yesterday, says Hamilton after the Qatar sprint race. I thought I would crash the car into the wall on lap 1. Charles Leclerc after the Qatar sprint race. I mean, really embarrassing. I've seen many comments, even from various technicians who said, really, the car was undrivable. It's a car that's unpredictable. And I want to show this very nice analysis of Hamilton's lap with soft tires in qualifying.
That jumps out.
The thing that is clearly noticeable is that the car changes behavior based on tire temperatures and also on the section of the track it's dealing with. If you look, watch here in turn 1, Hamilton can't hit the apex properly because of understeer. So there's understeer in turn 1 at the beginning of the lap in all these slow corners that loop back. So you need to have a double steering input. You see Hamilton keeps steering the car towards the curb, but the car struggles to turn. I mean, look at how much steering angle Hamilton uses in this case. This is a significant image, representative if you will. And here you can really see all the effort from Hamilton in this case. So a lot of understeer in this case at the start of the lap. And if we move forward,
Time though, as he rolls through the mid corner of
let's move on towards the medium speed corners.
plowing.
You can see Hamilton manages to make his car work a bit better, but the situation starts changing too, because here we also have the temperatures. The tires start to rise over 10 degrees, and that's where Ferrari begins to suffer from rear instability. In fact, if we lack temperature on the front at the start of the lap, resulting in understeer upon entry and mid-corner, conversely, the more the lap evolves, meaning the further we go in the lap, the more we see the tire temperatures rise, and the car starts to become more snappy, as they say, so more unmanageable, more difficult to handle due to rear instability, and thus it begins to push less because you feel the car less yours. You feel it less in your hands, you have less feeling on the tires. And indeed, look here, the temperatures are very high. And here they come faster. You see he can't tackle them with more speed because he's really struggling. It's truly a dramatic situation. Let's move on.
The car underneath Lewis and Charles.
It's clearly visible. Look here how he just can't manage going fast into the corner because indeed in fast corners the car is unmanageable in terms of speed and it tends to lose the rear, and then you end up like Leclerc did. In fact, I'll show you Leclerc to both the telemetry and the onboard. Let's look here. Charles Leclerc comes into this section of the track. We're in Q3 here. It's already a miracle that Leclerc made it to Q3 with this car. Let's look here with a car that Leclerc said he wanted very front focused to at least avoid understeer in the first part of the circuit. But unfortunately, these things happen. Look, let's move forward. He goes to tackle it. You see here, he slightly loses the rear on entry. You can clearly see how he tries to lean on it. Can't find grip on the tires anymore. Loses the car. And here he goes hard on the curb. But the rear is unstable. And he completely loses the car, guys. Here he had a control that he lost. He got scared when he saw Leclerc in this situation, guys. But we're talking about a car going 280 kilometers per hour. You lose it like this. Fortunately, in Qatar, there are escape routes, but truly an embarrassing situation for a top team. I hadn't seen a situation like this in many years. It somewhat reminded me of the 2014 Ferrari. Alonso's won, if you recall, the F14T, if I'm not mistaken, SF14T, and it was undrivable because it had both understeer and oversteer. So in this case, we can say Ferrari is in that situation. It has both understeer in slow corners and excessive oversteer in fast corners. The problem is that Leclerc wanting so much grip at the front. So having more, let's say, grip, also increasing the inclination and the, let's say, increasing the grip he wants to have on the front wing, well, then he loses too much grip at the rear. That is, by loading the front so much, you consequently lose the rear. You can't have so much angle, so much flap at the front, as they say, because then you lose too much rear, as happened in this case in fast corners, especially when you have very high temperatures on the tires in the last part of the circuit. So this is from a technical point of view. I wanted to give a brief overview of Charles's problems. This is also shown in the telemetry reported by Federico Albano, who also mentions the acoustic test data of Leclerc, something scary for the speed. It will take guts to push again in that stretch. In fact, after Leclerc in qualifying, we saw that he finished 10th. Indeed, he struggled a lot. He also had used tires. We'll talk about it now, but really a dramatic situation. Piastri, then Norris, then Verstappen. This is the result of Q3 qualifying ahead of tomorrow's race. 1. A McLaren that dominated was flying, a really fast McLaren, especially in fast corners. A 1.19.3 is Piastri's pole. Piastri seems to be more on point this weekend compared to even Norris and Verstappen didn't have more. Verstappen did not complain about his car problems during qualifying because the car had no problems. If we want, he always had some problems with downshifting. So with gear changes and downshifting, but Max always feels a bit of a more mechanical downshifting and not so smooth. However, the problem of bottoming, therefore bouncing, if we want on his single-seater, was not found in qualifying. So he felt better. And it's already good that Verstappen was ahead of Russell, because Russell had the pace to be ahead of him, in my opinion, in qualifying. Instead, Max gave it everything and managed to stay ahead of the Mercedes, and this is very important for him as he tries to battle at the front with McLaren. However, this weekend McLaren seems untouchable, and if they perform in the race as they did in qualifying, McLaren could be even stronger. It will be interesting to see the battle between Piastri and Norris, and also how the team will react to the battle up front. With the papaya rules, they will be free to race, with Max maybe taking advantage, so pay attention also tomorrow to this. Great HR6 definitely. He had an excellent qualifying with his Racing Bulls. And then we see that behind there is HR, so Racing Bulls. We have Sainz with Williams, Alonso with Aston Martin, Gasly with Alpine, and then there is Leclerc. I mean, we really have, considering McLaren, Red Bull, Mercedes, Racing Bulls, Williams, Aston Martin, and Alpine. There are 7 teams ahead of Ferrari. 7 teams. It's embarrassing. Certainly, we then saw that Leclerc arrived at the end with used tires. He has no more sets of tires because he tried to use as many tires as possible to qualify as far forward as possible. It's already a miracle that Ferrari made it to Q3, seeing the performance on the track, but really an embarrassing situation, as we said. And I want to say congratulations anyway to Mercedes because they managed to find more downforce. Both drivers, 4th and 5th, is good. This is the recap of the sprint race we saw. Piastri scored 8 points, then Russell, then Norris. Anyway, Mercedes ended up sandwiched between the 2 McLarens, then Verstappen, Tsunoda, Antonelli, Alonso, Sainz, and then all the others. In fact, in Q2, we saw Norris, who was almost excluded from Q2 because his time was cancelled for violating track limits, and he then had to redo the attempt. He managed to redo it without problems. But we've already seen some small mistakes from Norris here and there, as always. But Max can't make the difference because McLaren is clearly stronger at the moment. I'll also show you the difference here. Piastri, Norris, and Verstappen. And it's clear how Max manages to go faster even in the first sector. In slow and medium corners, he manages to go quite fast, but then he really loses a lot. In the last sector, look at the gap. It tends to increase from Max's 0.46 thousandths, reaching 0.2. So right in fast corners, the McLaren makes a clear difference compared to the Red Bull. This is an objective fact. Let me know in the comments your opinion on the qualifying, the sprint race, how you saw it in short, how you also see the scenario for tomorrow's race. The situation at Ferrari is really disastrous. I want to repeat it though. Unfortunately, I hope that this season ends as soon as possible so we can focus on 2026. Let's also consider the fact that Ferrari hasn't updated the car since this summer. We need to consider this. Let's hope that 2026 is a good year because really we can't continue like this. It's a dramatic situation, to say the least. Well, many have said that it's true Ferrari sees Formula 1 as a lot of marketing. But we need to get back to pushing, to winning, because otherwise even the fans will get tired of this struggling Ferrari. And having a 7-time world champion making him drive a car like this, having Leclerc, who, guys, I mean, it breaks my heart seeing this image here, really, of Leclerc spinning. I mean, really, Charles also deserves a winning car. Otherwise, he should also consider leaving Ferrari, because if they keep providing undrivable cars, I would get tired too after a while. So let's hope that 2026 is the right year. I have nothing else to add. That said, guys, I obviously remind you to leave a like, subscribe, and activate notifications if you enjoy the videos on the channel or the analyses. Let's go check out the telemetry. Let's obviously look at the onboard, and I'll also share my opinion on all the topics we discuss every day. So that's all from Rasta. See you in the next video.